Today, North America isn't exactly known for its parakeets. In fact, there are no native parakeets north of Central America. However, this was not the case in 1583 when the English explorer Sir Humphrey Gilbert led an expedition to Florida, which included George Peckham, who described what appeared to be small parrots. These parrots were what was later called the Conuropsis carolinensis, or the Carolina parakeet. Description: Carolina parakeets were green in color with a yellow neck, orange head, and white legs. The wingspan of this bird was around 22 inches. Other notable characteristics were body length of about 12.5 inches and a notably pointed tail. When European colonizers came to modern-day Virginia and Carolina, they noted the large number of parakeets. After the charter for the Carolina colony in 1663, the Carolina parakeet was solidified as the common name, almost 80 years after being formally described. Carolina parakeets were the only species in the genus Conuropsis. Behavior and breeding. Carolina parakeets were known for their large flocks and gregarious nature. This species of parakeet traveled throughout its range in very large, very noisy flocks. Reports suggest the flocks could be heard from several miles away. Carolina parakeets also exhibited strong flock loyalty. If a member was injured or killed, the entire flock would return to that flock mate. This made the species extremely vulnerable to hunting. In the event of danger, Carolina parakeets were known to emit a shrill warning cry. In addition to being swift and graceful flyers, these birds were known for having a strong ability to climb, though they would lift themselves off the ground just to turn around. Carolina parakeets nest in tree hollows with several females, often in the same nest. These birds form monogamous pairs, with the breeding season starting in the spring. Carolina parakeets lay 2 to 5 eggs that were incubated for around 23 days. Young fledged at 19 days old and were mature after 1 year. Little is known about the behavior and habits of Carolina parakeets, but it is suggested that they were not always the most attentive parents. These birds were the only parakeet to ever lived in the eastern United States. Carolina parakeets were found from southern New York and Wisconsin all the way down to the Gulf Coast and as far west as Colorado. Carolina parakeets did not migrate, but were known for traveling in large flocks throughout their range. They particularly favored habitats in wetland forests, such as near rivers and swamps. Diet and predators. In their wet habitats, Carolina parakeets most often consume seeds, fruits, buds, flowers, and occasionally insects. Due to their habit of foraging in agricultural fields, they were known as an agricultural pest. Interestingly, Audubon noted that cats appear to die after killing and eating these birds, leading to the conclusion that Carolina parakeets may have been slightly toxic. If so, it was likely caused by their toxic cocklebur seeds that they ate. Despite apparent toxicity, they were often hunted by birds of prey, raccoons, skunks, squirrels, and snakes. Extinction. The extinction of the species was caused by hunting, habitat loss, and potentially disease. Large amounts of the forest, particularly mature swamp trees, were developed for agricultural use and other projects. This reduced the available habitat, while the introduction of European honeybees may have led to the decline in nesting sites, further reducing breeding habitat. Carolina parakeets were extensively hunted as farmers viewed them as agricultural pests and as their feathers were favored in the millinery trade for women's hats. This species was particularly vulnerable to hunting because of their habit of returning to the body of flock mates, thus allowing hunters to wipe out entire flocks at once. Though it is debated, it is possible that diseases from domestic poultry may have significantly impacted the population. The last Carolina parakeet, named Incas, died in the same cage as Martha, the last passenger pigeon, on February 21st, 1918, 4 years after the extinction of the passenger pigeon. Only 226 years from official description to complete extinction.